How do you get homeowners to fund the roof project now that won't happen for another 10 or 20 years? It's all a matter of taking your eyes off the actual expense and focusing on ongoing deterioration. Mother Nature and Father Time are the enemies here, gradually turning your new roof into an old, leaky roof. Big reserve projects take years of financial preparation. The consequences of failing to plan are harsh. Deteriorated common areas, special assessments, and lagging property values. In this portion of our Engaging Homeowners webinar, we stress that success at your association is as much a communication problem as it is a financial problem. Follow along and see for yourself.
All right, so now that we have an understanding of the details here, let's talk about strategy for dealing with the topic of board meetings and angry owners, and how do you present this to your community. So we've all, I'm sure in this call, been involved in board meetings like this, where you've got one person standing and saying, who cares, I'm not going to be here in 20 years. Another person's, yelling over top of them from the seat, and the board is looking, saying, hey, we've got all the numbers and the data, but numbers and data, that's one part of the equation. Being able to convince, or lead, I should say, properly lead your community to the right path is a whole other side of this equation. So I've seen this myself. You have, when you as a board or as a community know that there are major expenses hitting and possible special assessments hitting, you could potentially put your home on the market before that big special assessment for the roof comes. Unfortunately, I've seen board members do that, and they know about it, they know it's coming, and they choose to sell before the information even becomes public to the community. So that's a big mistake, but just understand this can be avoided. So reserve expenses are all about ongoing deterioration, and it's a simple analogy, just like the sand falling from this hourglass. Reserve projects don't just unexpectedly fail, okay? They get old and gradually approach the end of their useful life. Again, it's predictable and it's a gradual process. So as you see here, the cost for reserve expenses increase gradually over time. It's called inflation. All right, so here's a tip for managers, board members. You want to get this point across, okay? Every person in your community has a choice, especially you as a board. You have a choice how you're going to handle this, okay? You're either going to, how you pay, I should say, for the reserve components. You're either going to do it a little bit at a time, slow and steady in terms of just monthly transfers to your reserve account, or you're going to pay for that roof through an emergency special assessment, short notice. And I will tell you, in almost every instance, you're going to be paying more for a loan or special assessment than you will have had you been funding monthly. So while that's easier said than done, one thing that you can do as board members or managers is make sure that you are constantly dropping seeds to your community. Constantly tell them about, hey, we plan on doing new roofs in 2027. Even if you meet monthly and that's one of your topics, and you just continue to make that and put that on the agenda, in a year and a half, 2 years from now, this project is coming, and tell them constantly of what it's going to mean to them, how your finances are looking. Do you think a special assessment is going to be needed, or are you going to greatly increase your contributions? Don't surprise the membership. That's where people get angry. Make sure you're constantly dropping information to them. So no owner should ever be caught off guard. So in addition to dropping seeds well in advance, you want to show photos of what you are seeing behind the scenes. So if you're sitting down with your manager and you're reviewing photos of wood rot or the sub base under the asphalt is crumbling, and you're looking at photos of that. Make your community aware of what's going on. Have a plan. Make sure that they know you're in charge, that you're leading them toward a better future, but you want them to see the actual deterioration that's happening around them, because believe it or not, many people could walk right by it. They've walked right by it for 15 years and they just never noticed that the siding is falling off on the back of the building. So that's the kind of things you want to make sure that they're seeing, and pictures are worth 1,000 words. So in this example here, again, picture's worth 1,000 words. You don't have to say that the hot water tank here needs to be replaced, or the tennis court needs to be replaced. Or at least majorly repaired. It's obvious, but people who are not going to the tennis courts, again, they see it. If nothing else, this might open up a discussion whether or not you choose to disband the tennis court and do something else with it. Let that be a conversation that happens over time, not in a surprise meeting where you're telling the entire association that you need to raise $150,000 to redo courts and what have you. Same thing with the balconies here in this situation. If you're not addressing those balconies and deterioration, now you get water into the rebar and you could potentially have structural issues. On the picture on the right-hand side, the wood, the rot there, that could have been prevented had that wood been painted on a regular cycle, okay? Not letting it go to the point of where you see now, where the actual wood has to come off. Same thing with pool furniture. Again, you don't want to surprise your community and by opening up the pool and say we need a special assessment to replace the pool furniture, when that could have been dealt with at the pool closing. Or better yet, like we're saying, over time, the money's in the account to replace the furniture when it needs to be replaced. Same thing with the wood rot, the wood trim there on the windows on the right-hand side. Something that you want to continue to be paying attention to as part of your painting cycle, looking for wood that needs to be replaced, not letting it surprise you. On this picture on the left, one of our project managers actually did this reserve study, and you can understand why they didn't want to go any further. It was rickety, missing boards. It was only 3 feet wide to begin with. So things like this you want to have taken care of from a liability standpoint, as well as you see on the right-hand side. If you start to see that, you want to fund for it. Now, keep in mind, this is another strategy, a little tidbit of information. If you're receiving a reserve study that says you need to replace all sidewalks in 5 years, just challenge your reserve study provider. Have a conversation with them. Do I need to replace all sidewalks, or can we break this down and do 20% every X amount of years, which is more practical, and it's the way it should be done in many instances. Again, the whole point of this is you want to present photos to your community of what's happening in your community and why you're making the decisions you have to make to lead them effectively. And a picture is one of the easiest ways to do that. Can't tell you the number of times that I would stand in front of crowds that were angry about special assessments because it wasn't done right, but we still led the meeting by showing them visuals of what was going on, and that alone diffused some of the anger. And the single biggest problem in communication is the illusion that it has taken place. And where I see this often is board members, you're meeting with your manager behind closed doors. It could be month after month after month, and you know very much what's going on, and you just begin to think that others know what's going on. You might have said it once or twice to the membership, but if you've talked about it 10 times, just understand that the membership's in the dark, and they don't need to know every single detail at all times. That's not what we're saying here, but you want them to be informed. You want them to know what's happening, okay? And one of the other things I'd like to just share is choose your words carefully. And here's some examples that we see. Reserves are not saving for the future. Okay, we hear that a lot. That's not the purpose of a reserve account. It's not saving for the future. It's not setting aside for the future, but rather paying for today's deterioration. Your reserve transfer every month, you have to think of it like a landscaping bill. It's paying for the deterioration that the owners are using up. It's a switch in mindset. And the reserve account is not a cushion account. It's not a slush fund. When we talk about monthly contributions, don't use the word contribution. This is not a discretionary, if we have money left over at the end of the month, we're going to go ahead and put it into the reserve account. That's not what you should be doing. It's a reserve transfer. It's a monthly transfer to the reserve account, no different than your landscaping bill. And then again, if you want more information on this, or you'd like to dive deeper into what we're talking about here, we have that information online. A lot of resources available to you online. I know Robert's going to share with you some of that, but if you do stay to the end of this presentation, we'll provide the link for that.
Well, thank you very much, Brian. I was sitting here and I realized my arms were crossed and I was tightening up because of just thinking about all those meetings that you've been to. Where you see the numbers, you see the problem, and you're just aching for the homeowners to kind of buy into it. So am I overstating, or is that so much of what you saw?
A lot. Unfortunately, we're beginning to see trends change, but unfortunately, the reserve study was completed. It was done just to check off a box, and then it was shelved. And it's not brought back out until an association needs a loan. And what happens is owners are in the dark, association's not funding properly, and then you have special assessments or emergencies. Owners are angry. I mean, I had seen everything from $75,000 assessments and police in the room to stop fights, and it's just not healthy. It should not be that way.
Yeah, that's no fun. I don't want to think about having enforcement in the room just to keep law and order and the people from losing their temperature. They're elevating tightness, elevating emotions, all that kind of stuff. One thing I also liked was when you were talking about reserve deterioration is like the sand in the hourglass. It's not discrete. The roof failed, and now we owe $200,000 to the roofer. That roof failed over 20 years in plain sight. It was not a surprise to anybody. So that whole idea of people paying their fair share is just part of the communication message. So thank you for sharing that. At Association Reserves, we make the present less stressful and the future more secure. If you want to join us in this mission, please like this video and subscribe to our channel. Leave a comment down below on what you'd like to see us address in a future video. Let's plan for your best future.